folks, and welcome to this week's show. As you can see, we've got a couple back by popular demand. We've got Peter Karloff, as he is today, and Peter Cushing. And we've got a new guest today. We've got Rob, or Rob Cheney, as he's known as, for this evening's episode. And as you can guess by the names, we're going down the Gothic route. And today's show is basically picking, or the gentleman, because I'm just the host today, picking their top 10 favorite goth or Gothic type of albums. Okay, so before we dive straight into the sort of chart and all the rest of it and picking our 10 to 1 and going that way, just going to talk about how people got into the music or the lifestyle, as the case may be as well, and whatever you want to talk about for a couple of minutes. So, Peter Karloff, do you want to go first?
Yeah, okay. Um, I think just by the music that I liked as a kid, I suddenly you see the uniform, don't you? You see what other people are wearing and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, I'm a goth. Here I am. Past the crimpers and the eyeliner, get me some chains, and I'm away. Like, um, yeah, that was it, really. All the stuff that I loved, the stuff that I first sort of fell in love with, the Banshees and the Cure and Soft Cell, and even the poppy stuff. Like, well, some of the Soft Cell stuff was poppy, most of it wasn't. It was all leaning towards goth. Actually, like I've mentioned this before, but when I was really little, and like the first stuff that I liked was like Kim Wilde. Even that has its
Yeah.
sort of like weird little sort of post-punky sort of gothiness to it. Obviously, the early stuff, but yeah, and that was when I was really little. So yeah, I guess I always had that kind of intrigue, in the darker side, and
Good.
it's not changed.
Yeah, well, good. No, it hasn't. And we talked and we've discussed other artists where at times they've dabbled certainly in that area, like Kate Bush, for example, when
Mm.
when we've talked about it as well. So yeah, good stuff. Good, good, good. Peter Cushing, how about you?
Um, just getting used to that moniker there, Sid Lugosi. What the fuck? Um, well, I started out as like a punk and like kind of moved in that direction, but I didn't come across the term or hear the term like goth like for a while, to be honest. And it was how I came across it. It was used like disparagingly to sort of mock some specimen clones, right? From like kids who look like they were older than me, like about maybe 3, 4 years, and they went to downstairs in the Mayfair on a Friday night. And there's like about 4 or 5 of them, and they
I
were,
used to go in that room when I was a kid.
yeah, pardon me, I was a bit fluid. They were real rip-offs of the specimen look, and so I heard it like being said in quite a disparaging way, but with the music, my first awareness was through something called, well, something that was termed positive punk. I never knew really what that meant, and I never knew how and why that morphed into like the term goth. But like some of the bands I liked at that time, I think either were referred to as positive punk or was just like punk rock, and then the label of goth was applied. I think kind of retrospectively to some. And then I also read a little bit later on that Ian Astbury laid claim to the word goth because he used to live in somewhere in Bristol. I think it was called Visigoth Towers with Andy Sexgan, and apparently, like he's quite a small dude, is Andy, and they refer to him as the Gothic Goblin. And so Ian Astbury reckons that's where the term goth come from, but I'm not quite sure about that because I think it's probably got more to do with the Batcave and Specimen and Alien Sex Fiend and the Sex Gang Children. So I personally really don't like the name. I like those bands from that first sort of cohort, if you like, um, where they not all of them dressed up as very gothy, apart from like um, Specimen, like bands who are sort of like linked to it, like Southern Death Cult or whatever, or Sex, Gang, Children were still quite punky as well in sort of look. It's a bit like a sort of from the surplus store and things like that, before it became all black nail varnish and shit like that. Anyways, that's my tuppence. That's all you're getting.
Right, Rob Cheney, as you are today. How about yourself then? Well, we
Yeah,
must
well,
mention the outfit first, of course, which is tremendous.
yeah, my homemade Christmas jumper. Yeah, well, mine's easily was, and firstly, Peter was right. It was Andreas McGelly. We used to live in Brixton. A lot of them stayed around that area, and it was a Gothic Goblin. But I remember it when we called futuristics, alternatives, um, that sort of thing. Yeah, futuristics, and yeah, that was how it used to be worded. I was 13, so it was 1983, and a lot of it came from late 70s. I'd sit and watch a lot of Hammer horror films, and Big Sister at the time, and it was a safe place for me in my head, emotionally as well. So again, growing up, I would want to be in that environment that I'd seen on all these black and white films. So there was a church at Nicholas in Dalkeith where I moved up to when I was 8. So I would sit outside the crypt gates listening to March Violets, who, funnily enough, I was messaging Simon today. He's a massive Leeds United fan. So I was messaging him. I was saying that to him as well. I used to sit outside the crypt gates, headphones on. It was a safe place for me because it was giving me the environment of emotionally, mentally. It was always in me. It was like a backdrop to me as an individual. So yeah, Bauhaus, March Violets, and still got the cassette here from when I was 13. March Violets one side, Bauhaus on the other. But and I've never ever changed. Never once changed since then. Never. So yeah.
Good stuff. I mean, I'm not going to jump in too much, but I'll put my two pennies with it. Was alternatives was definitely the phrase when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was definitely the phrase, and as you say, maybe it's when I was about 11, 12, very early 80s, you started hearing the phrase. You'd see obviously people start getting dressed up like Susie Sue, which was very much a sort of certain look, wasn't it, with the dark hair and especially obviously the girls, in particular, and then the Robert Smith look as well was populated. So, that was really very much a look in parts in Newcastle. We had the hippie green, if you remember, Peter for a while, and Rob, of course, will know. And then, of course, you had the Mayfair, and as Pete was saying, you had that little room in the Mayfair. We used to go in there quite a lot, and we would ask for Stiff Little Fingers and ABBA, and they'd throw them on. We would dance around the floor shouting for more ABBA. But if Ian's watching, he'll remember and start laughing in a minute, as will Neil. But yeah, that was something we used to do quite regularly on a Friday night or a Saturday night. But brilliant. And obviously, when I had the record shop, the whole goth thing had exploded by that point, by 86,
Yeah,
87,
that's
88, and
right.
so on. And so, it was a certain look, it was a certain uniform, a little bit, in some respects, constricted. But it has changed slightly. It has definitely changed slightly, but in terms of the fact that it was a bit like punk where you had to wear a certain clothing, which just gets a bit naff after a while. But I like the fact that it's moved on a bit from there. So yeah, that's good stuff. Right, so we're going to dive in, folks. This is going to be interesting because we've had conversations on my phone, basically in various WhatsApp discussions about what bands are definitely not going to appear, and we'll discuss that as we go along as well, maybe because certain people going, I'm not having them there, I'm not classing them as a goth band, and so on and so forth. And for me, I did, and I know Peter and Rob have both said otherwise. But and Peter, and so we'll see. So Peter Karloff, what have you got in at number 10? Let's go for it.
Okay. Can I just start with a little caveat?
Of
I
course.
always do. Okay, I consider goth to be extremely fucking wide. This is a
Yeah.
big thing. There's elements of Roxy Music and The Doors that I consider to be gothy. It then goes to stuff that might not be my bag, the American Christian Death, that, and then Marilyn Manson, that sort of stuff. And then, there's even elements of Portishead and PJ Harvey
Yeah.
that I would consider to be slightly goth, So it is huge. Some people would consider some of the Bunnyman stuff to be goth. I wouldn't, like I hope that nobody gets too hung up about that's not a goth band.
No, I agree because there's a huge crossover as well with post-punk as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
So you could see
But
bits of magazine have got that, and early Adam and the Ants have definitely got that.
yes,
So
definitely.
there's clear crossovers in certain artists. So absolutely.
yeah, for me, I haven't included any Nine Inch Nails because I that does feel industrial to me. I haven't included Killing Joke because they feel post-punk, punk.
Isn't that? Well, I would
I
have done,
know,
but there we have it. Go on.
you know. So anyway, so let's start. Number 10, coming in with "If I Die, I Die," the Virgin Prunes. And yeah, I mean, such a great bunch of freaks, and probably one of the first albums to really push my imagination, and not just because of the music. This was Gavin and Guggy, and you know, seeing the Sunshine Devils video, and the two of them in drag, basically, and I was so into that. Whereas I think the other Peter might not have been lipstick, eyeliner, and nail varnish. I absolutely was. That's what I was there for, Loved it.
Peter
So,
just did that on a Thursday. Go on.
they were avant-garde, performance art, all of that stuff that I love. Discordant, is something you can call the Virgin Prunes, and that's going to come up, again and again through goth. The whole thing is discordant. But then, for this album, it's two sides. It's kind of two sides for me. This one really works on vinyl, and the first side of the album, things like Decline the Falls, Sweet Home Under White Cloud, is quite mournful and beautiful. Gavin's vocals are incredible. And then the second side, you get Walls of Jericho, Caucasian Walk, and then Baby Turns Blue, which was massive dance floor filler. That was a Batcave absolute staple. Gossips on Dean Street, all of that. Yeah. So for me, it's quintessential goth. For me, I'm just speaking for myself, and it ticks all of the boxes. And I think from here on in, no one album ticks all of them quite like this one does. And yeah, love it.
Brilliant. Okay, good stuff. Right, Peter Cushing, what have you got in at number 10?
Just before I get into that, like homage to Virgin Prunes. There's something else, something completely different and completely bloody barking mad as well. Like I've got "If I Die, I Die" in my top 10 as well, but ranked higher. But that one's a weird one for me because it's quite polished in parts where like those songs were recorded elsewhere, and I think they're better elsewhere as well. Like Walls of Jericho, for example, I think is a bit disappointing on the album. Doesn't capture what it was like live. But like I remember Baby Turns Blue on the dance floor as well. It's like it was quite a bit of departure. And anyway, my I have struggled to come up with a top 10, to be honest. And it was 8, 9, 10, which were a big struggle for me. So I had to really rack my brain. So my top 10 is between 1980 and 1985. And I think that's because of my window of when I was like getting into that music, and then when I departed that sort of like scene, if you like. So my top 10 is Who's Been Sleeping in My Brain by Alien Sex Fiend. A couple of other like really good dance floor tracks back then. Ignore the Machine was an immensely like popular song, and they had the kind of complete sort of look as well, like a bit like Lux Interior on acid was Nick Fiend, like completely over the top, and quite camp, quite funny live band. Yeah, that's all I've got to say for them. I had to rack my brains to come up with them at number 10.
Right, okay, good choice, Pete. What, Rob Cheney, what have you got at number 10?
The Virgin Prunes, If I Die, I Die. vinyl. Yeah, I could just reflect on what Peter said as well. It's for me, goth. I don't like the G word, but I still like alternative underground. It's to me, it's everything is about the atmosphere. That's it, and emotion. I hear very early Japan in this. I can hear a little bit, a bit Van de Graaff Generator. Just what's that band called? Done Autobahn. You know the.
Oh, Kraftwerk.
I hear little bits, but especially with the bass and like you say, the theatrics, the art. It was like university, college art, performance art. And again, it's outstanding. Obviously, it's recorded at Windmill Lane Studios in Dublin. I think Gavin Friday, I think he still works with Bono or U2. But yeah, absolute classic. Every song a killer. Brilliant album. Really, really good. And again, yeah, on vinyl, 100%. That's my first one.
Interesting the fact that we have two the same already. That's quite impressive. So, Peter Karloff, what have you got in at number 9 then?
Okay, number 9, I've got In the Flat Field by Bauhaus. So still staying safely within the solid hardcore of goth. No one's going to dispute that this is a major goth album. I think a lot of people would consider them godfathers, or at least one of the godfathers of goth. And also, like, the thing I like about Bauhaus, so they're about the only people that have said, "Oh, we're not goth." You see, because I'm perfectly happy to be goth. Goth until death. Don't care. I'm happy with the moniker. Like, yeah, you just got to accept what you are. With this one, weirdly enough, compared to the other one, this one I prefer on CD because I think it was 88, they expanded the album. Obviously, it's a great album on vinyl, the 9-track version, but the CD that came out where they added in Terror Couple Kill Colonel and Crowds, just take it from being a really great album to a mind-blowing album. And I think for me, later on in their career, Bauhaus tended to lose themselves a little bit in noodling. There were too many tracks of that. I felt like they were wasting their time. That's just my opinion, but but I really, this was just perfect. It's succinct to the point. It's filled with light and shade, even though all of it is dark and uncomfortable. It's got, the Gothic stomp of In the Flat Field and St. Vitus Dance. And then to the wonderful fingernails down the blackboard, quite literally of Spy in the Cab. And of course, on the expanded edition, you get the incredible cover version of John Cale's Rose Garden Funeral of Swords, which is the most Gothic title of any track ever. So yeah, In the Flat Field by Bauhaus, absolute staple of goth. If you're just discovering goth, that's got to be in your first purchases. So yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yep, great choice, Peter Karloff. Peter Cushing, what have you got in at number 9?
Right, I scratched about it for this today. Another Bauhaus one, Mask. Primarily because I can remember like a vivid memory of like at the Mayfair and Kicking Your Eye. Just what a
Yeah.
great sort of bass driven song that is, like pure rhythm. I didn't really like how they looked and felt though, I thought it was quite a bit, I don't know, I found it a little bit too unsettling for me, you know what I mean? They were very in your face. But yeah, I struggle to come up with one. And I'm going to when we head to the next one, I'm going to distinguish between like goth, because I think this is very much goth, and then gothic. So I think sometimes goth is that pejorative sort of mean term, but gothic suits some bands and not others. So that'll be my segue into my next one, which I think is quite different. There you go.
Okay. All right, Rob, what have you got in number 9?
Number 9, played it This Side of Heaven. Don't know if you can see it. Okay.
Yes.
Band from Bristol, 1985 again, sort of first generation band. One of their standout songs is called The Tenant. Absolutely brilliant, really warm, dark, usually, meaty bass runs, nice section, harmonic guitar and guitar parts on it. To me, I can hear bit Public Enemy, definitely Some Killing Joke, but if you put it all together, again, what the other Peter was saying, that Goth going off in different directions. So for me, if you listen to Play Dead, I feel like the other bands would be like 1919, This Burning Effigy, bands like that, very, very similar, very Killing Joke-ish, but darker, just a few notches down darker, but really, really good. They still play at the golf clubs in Edinburgh. Really, really good band. Again, 1985 from Bristol, Play Dead.
Okay, this is interesting. We're getting some very different choices now. Peter Coloff, what have we got at number 8 then?
I'm still in the safe zone. My first 5 are very much in the safe zone, and I've gone for Pornography by The Cure. Now, I know that someone here hates The Cure. Please raise your hand if you hate The Cure. Yeah, this for me is a perfect album. Robert Smith just sounds so great on this, and lyrically it's beautiful. It's all of the things that you want from Goth. You want the discordance, the upset, the depression and what have you. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that it opens with the lyric, it doesn't matter if we all die. And I'm like, no, it does, because yeah. He used to play this one quite a lot in the office, and it always caused a certain amount of upset, so that was always nice. It does have its danceable sort of moments, like Hanging Garden, but then it has one of the greatest songs ever written, definitely in my top 50 songs, Figurehead. Wow, yeah. So yeah, very, very happy about that. And yeah, it's just one of those albums that, like, the minute it comes on, like after the first lyric, just sink into the whole thing, and it's beautiful, love it, perfect. There you go, number 8, Pornography by The Cure.
Great album. I know it's Rob who don't like them. They would have made my list. That or Faith. I love both of them probably pretty much equally. But yeah, great choice. Peter Cushing, what have you got in at number? Is it 8?
8,
8.
8,
Sorry.
8. Closer, Joy Division. I think it's a very, very Gothic album, but it's
Peter
not by
Carlos going to
Goths.
kick off. Go on. Go on, Pete.
I just find the whole feel of it. I mean, it's just, wow, it like just hits you very, very hard, and like feelings of despair and alienation, all of that kind of stuff. I think it's it's right there, but by by people who look the least like goth. No, anyway, they all look like they work in an office and a shit job. You know what I mean?
Which was the
They
case, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, they don't fit the look, but I think the music just fits that stream so well. But they're probably the least gothic looking of my choices.
Well, it's
There you
it's
go.
odd, isn't it? Because the first album wouldn't be classed as that. It wouldn't fit in with that genre, but the second album does. It's very odd, isn't it? How you can sort of. It's only a subtle shift as well from post punk to that, but I think I definitely see it in that genre.
So I sense some disquiet from Mr. Karloff there. I'd like to invite him to expand upon his disposition. He looked really unsettled.
Now go on, Pete. You might as
Come
well.
on, I mean, let's make it
No, no,
interesting.
no, 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 no. I do agree that you could put them in golf. I didn't, because I couldn't get down to 10, so I had to make some rules that I didn't like. And it's like, right now, I'm just not talking about Joy Division because I'm having trouble getting down from 30 to let alone to 10. So I just put in. So I'm really glad you've brought them. I would consider that album to be golf, absolutely, and it really should be in my top 10. But guess what? Like, no, we're just not.
Fair enough.
That's
I'm
it.
gonna like draw the line between goth and gothic. Right? Just remind yourself of that.
Right.
distinction.
Rob Cheney, what have you got in number 8?
The Wake.
Oh,
Hey,
That's a beautiful vinyl.
oh, it's a belter, isn't it?
Band from Ohio from 1986, which was when goth exploded, or dark rock, or gothic rock, or whatever. Absolutely stunning album. Absolutely brilliant album. If you like Sisters, well, Sisterhood. Well, it was two Sisterhoods once upon a time, or James Ray's Gang War, James Ray in the performance, the keyboards by Eldritch. If you like that sort of, yeah, say First Sisters album, it's really dark. It's like really deep, haunting, sort of like church organs in the background, just humming, sort of, just in the background, opening it up, pulling it out, and just creating that perfect walk for me. And it's consistent. Song Harlot, Sideshow, Masked, Silent Siren, absolutely brilliant band from Ohio. So that's if you like early Sisterhood, The Wake, Masked, brilliant album.
Okay, that's different. We're definitely getting some different sort of shouts here now, as well as the sort of super big bands, and then your sort of much more obscure type of artists. Right, Peter Karloff, then what have you got at number 7?
right, now we're on to Junkyard by the Birthday Party.
Yes.
Um, I love this album because I don't know if it's true, but it sounds like everyone's at the top of their game. Nick sounds great. Roland and Tracy are just out of control. It's being kept together by, Mick Harvey and Phil Calvert. The disparate elements are just, the end result is everything a good band should be. Unsettling, violent, and drug addicted. I love them for that. Right, in my notes, I've got a slab of white hot blues rock laced with Southern Gothic imagery that will steal your wallet and help you look for it. The opening 2 tracks on this, they put you on the seesaw of the whole album. It starts with Blast Off, which does exactly what it says on the tin, and then dropping you into the dirge of She's Hit. And it kind of continues in this fashion between sort of dirge and blasting and noise until you get to Several Sins, which is one of the strangest things I've heard in my collection, I think, because it sounds like an outtake from West Side Story, if West Side Story was directed by Hieronymus Bosch. I mean, it's so glorious that, it's real finger clicker. But yeah, I mean, I could go through every track in this album because I absolutely love it. And it scratches an itch that nothing else can, they're just so filthy. The Birthday Party are to music what John Waters and Divine were to film. This is real mess. I love it so much. It does my heart good. The Birthday Party trashing things so you don't have to. Leave it there.
Good choice, Pete. Peter Cushing, what have you got at number 7?
Before I get into it, I totally agree about the Birthday Party. I've had a sort of memory deficit, I think. What an awesome band they were. Some great bands from that era from Australia, like the Scientists as well. I loved them. 7. Gene loved Jezebel's first album, Promise.
Yeah.
But 2 songs, Upstairs, which is such a brilliant song, and Bruises. I got to see them around maybe 1985 and 1986 when what do you call him? James Stevenson was playing guitar for them. Very, very good live band, completely over the top with the camp, but it kind of went in a weird way. It wasn't like goth anymore. It was all kind of, I don't know, like pastels and like things like that. It was all kind of esoteric and, mystical. Haven't listened to that album probably since then, but like Upstairs is stuck in my mind as like such a really good heavy like sort of guitar groove in that song. They're still going in, but in a very splintered form. Like they were fronted by twin brothers. Was it Jay and Michael? And they both have different versions of the band. They don't speak anymore. It's quite vicious apparently, but brilliant album, brilliant album. So that's my number 7,
All right.
Mr. Lugosi.
Good choice. I think I saw them live as well once. Right,
Yeah, good.
Rob, what have you got at number 7?
Depeche Mode Ultra.
Oh, belter, banger.
I think this is Dave Gahan's sort of darkest period, 97. I seen Sister supporting him, Crystal Palace, at Songs of Faith and Devotion tour. This album, it was going to be either Ultra or Songs of Faith and Devotion, but this, again, for me, emotionally, mentally, Sister of Night, insight. You just drift with it. This is an insight into my life, to my world, and the fire still burns, and it's if you could just sort of picture being in a dark room, but just like droplets of water hitting down, and you're watching it. Very, very hypnotic. I love the dark, the slowness of this. Barrel of a Gun. It's not too bad. It's a bit confusing. Even the video is just a bit mishmashy. It's no good. Good song. A really good video to that. So it was like a cabaret video. Useless as well. The Love Thieves. Brilliant. They're not ballads. They're not poppy. They're not. I mean, Violator could have been in this as well, but it's just there's a obvious darkness around the band at this point, which there was. Dave lost his life, woke up, got arrested, and for what he'd done in the States. But that album to me is a reflection of that time in Depeche Mode's career and history.
Yeah, great choices. And there's a real heaviness to them at that point as well, isn't there?
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
oppressive sounding. I love those albums at that period of time. I think they were brilliant. Yeah, good choice. Excellent choice, in fact. Peter Coloff, I think, we're number 6 now.
Yes.
Right, what have you got at number 6?
Number 6, I've got one we've talked about before. It's Juju by Siouxsie and the Banshees.
Yeah, belter.
It's perfect in every way. I mean, the 4 people in the band at this time, Siouxsie, Severin, Budgie, John McGahey, fucking incredible. And it just sounded like nothing else. And, there's not one single note out of place on this album. In my opinion, it's just absolutely perfect. And, despite being extremely goth, and I know that Siouxsie would be throwing rocks at the screen at this point. It's full of color. That's really, the whole album really is. But she can't deny that Spellbound, every city in the country has got a goth club night called Spellbound. Everyone.
It's one of the greatest songs ever written.
And it really is. And to me, it's got to be the goth anthem, really. Am I sick of hearing it? Probably a little bit. Maybe not as much as some other stuff, but, favorite tracks on the album, Night Shift and Voodoo Dolly, although Voodoo Dolly is better on Nocturne, the live album, because it goes on and on and on. And yeah, I just, we've talked about that album a lot before, and go watch the Siouxsie and the Banshees video.
Yes, the Siouxsie and the Banshees show, folks. Go and watch it. We discussed the genius of McGeoch's guitar playing. Budgie, arguably the most underrated drummer of all time. I think he's absolutely exceptional. Just a top band. Great band. So yeah, great choice. Peter Cushing, what have you got at number 6?
I've got the Sisters of Mercy, First, Last, and Always. Again, because it harks back to like being a youngin on the hunt for fit girls. Like Gothic girls were really, really lush, and like they all seem to like Sisters of Mercy. And I think that's the only album I like by them, and it's got such a sound. It's pretentious, preposterous, overly sort of dramatic, but like sometimes the guitar work on it, and especially the bass, it's just brilliant, you know. So I've fond memories of listening to that album and like, you know, trying to get off of girls, you know, in bedrooms and things like that. And I saw them at Tiffany's on that tour as well, and they were pretty good. And it was probably the first time I became aware of like fans who travel to see bands, you know, around that time. So that's my number six.
They used to do, because I used to have it in the shop, they used to do a great version of Emma by Hot Chocolate.
Yeah,
That's right.
And Jolene as well, of course,
Jolene,
by
yeah,
Dolly
yeah,
Parton.
Jolene.
They used to do a great
And
version.
knocking on heaven's door as well,
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah, good choice. Rob, what have we got at number six?
They also covered Give Me a Man After Midnight as well. Got that on tape. Sisters doing that.
Well, there was also like a gothy type band called Leather Nun did a great version of
That's
that. I
right.
don't know if you
Yeah.
remember watching them, they were fantastic.
There is an Irish tribute band as well called Sisters of Murphy. They're up
they?
there.
Yeah.
Me, I'm going for Corpus Delicti,
Oh, I don't know.
band, band from Nice, from 1994. Unusual for me to like anything past 1989, but again, I could just repeat what Peter said about Juju. This basically would tick every box. Really, really good, really punchy. Again, you've got the tribal drumming, basically no hi-hat, no cymbals, the guitar and the texture again, the driving heavy bass just carrying it, the atmosphere, and the singer as well, a bit like Virgin Poons, bit of Gavin Friday, very, very good. They're still on the go, but Corpus Delicti, check them out. Absolutely
I'm gonna check
brilliant
that
band.
one out,
For a
actually. Yeah.
band from 1994, and what they're doing is honestly, I'd put them up there with between 83 and 86. Absolutely great band.
All right, one to check out there, folks. That sounds quite interesting, actually. Peter Karloff, what you've got at number five?
Okay, so I've left my the crowd pleasers behind now, and we're getting into the avant-garde, and this is the stuff that's really personal. You know, these were the ones that were always going to be here, you know, and the other five were movable. These are not. Number five, I've got Malediction and Prayer by Diamanda Gallas. And if you don't know Diamanda Gallas, she's a Greek-American pianist, vocalist, and activist. And by anyone's standards, she's extreme. She's classified as soprano sfagato and has been described as capable of the most unnerving vocal terror because of her work around the AIDS HIV crisis. I like to think of her as dis-easy listening. This album it's a live album, and it's a collection of blues, folk, bluegrass standards covered in her own inimitable way. She does Phil Oakes' Iron Lady, dedicated to Eileen Warnos, progresses into the most disturbing and astonishing version of My World Is Empty Without You, the Hollandosia Holland classic. Then into The Thrill Is Gone by B.B. King, and then Willie Dixon's Insane Asylum, and a second Death Row ditty, 25 Minutes to Go. This is, you know, it's her vocals are like nothing. There's like, if you want to listen to something else like Diamanda Gallas, you can't. It doesn't exist. It's her or nothing. And a lot of her work isn't for listening. It's you experience it once and then it's done. Particularly some of her activist stuff. She's done stuff around disease and control and all sorts of very strange stuff. She's a fascinating woman. Her father was she's extremely highly trained in piano and what have you. And when she told her father that she wanted to sing, he said, "So you want to be a slut?" Because she was, you know, he brought her up on, you know, Ornette Coleman and all this sort of stuff. You know, this heavy. She has a heavy jazz background. Yeah, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, nothing you've ever heard, and it is most definitely goth. And for me, the absolute pinnacle of this album is she does a cover of the gospel classic I'm gonna live the life I sing about in my songs, and no one's ever meant it like this woman. You know, she has "We Are All HIV Positive" tattooed on her knuckles. You know, she sold T-shirts that said "Give me sodomy or give me death." You know, she's an extreme person, and I love her very much.
Wow. There we go. Not your standard fare, folks. Not your standard fare.
There will be some people celebrating at this point, go yay, and there will be
No,
other
well, this
people
is the
that are,
whole thing. We're here to educate because Rob's come up with a couple of choices that I'd never heard of. That's a great one as well. And Peter Cushing, what have we got in at number five?
Right, I'll preface my fifth by saying that my top five, I do regularly listen to these, my top five during the course of a year. So it's not like the other stuff, which I've hardly ever listened to since. But my number five is UK Decay for Mad Men Only. Again, because I remember the song, it might have been a single as well called Sexual. Just such a pile driving, like, song that would just get everybody on their feet. And I remember a song as well called Stage Struck, which just had such an amazing bass groove and like amazing drumming. Like the drummer for these guys was something very, very special. So that was from 1981. I think there's a version of them with the original singer and maybe one of the guitarists. So like they played recently. I think they played Whitby and they played somewhere in Luton where they're from fairly recently. So I'm hoping I'll get a chance to see them in the not too distant future. That's like number five, and they came around before the look of like goth like was in full swing, so they were very much sort of like low key and like charity shop kind of clothes or army surplus, but definitely had a really good feel, and the artwork of the album was very, very gothic. I would say. There you go.
Right, good choice. Interesting. UK Decay there. Number five, Rob, what have you got at number five? Oh, yes.
Definition, God's Own Medicine. I can say I was one of the original Eskimos back in the day. Absolutely stunning album. This was going to be the Second Sisters album. Every song on this was written for the Second Sisters album. Obviously, Craig Adams left. There was two sisterhoods at this point. One finally made it through Merciful Release, Andrew Eldridge's record company, who first Pro Baby, or Groovin' in Green it was, by March Violet's got released on that, which the poster behind me, the Wayne Hussey Sisterhood, but then they changed it to The Mission, just because the drummer Mick Brown would make up a speaker in the flat he was at. But yeah, you had Simon Hinkler, old guitarist from Artery, and Mick Brown from Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry. Again, at Wasteland, again, you've got Wayne Hussey's mom and background, still believe in God. God no longer believes in me. Stay With Me, beautiful song. Garden of Delight, that was originally called Saints and Martyrs. Sacrilege, Dancer in Glass again, lovely Ebo guitaring on that, and the dance goes on, brilliant song. But every song on this album was to be the next Sisters album, the Second Sisters Merch album. It's brilliant, and I think between that and the last album, Another Fall from Grace, you listen to Another Fall from Grace, it is very, very, taking you back to 85, 86. Absolutely brilliant album, this. I'll never forget the amount of times. Basically, I'm saturated in this album. Absolutely classic, timeless classic for me.
Good stuff. I love Wasteland. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Peter Karloff, what have you got at number four?
I have got what's probably really proto goth, but it's Desert Shore by Nico.
Oh, I was waiting for Nico to come on.
Of course, you know, she was coming, janitor of lunacy. It's there. One woman and her harmonium continuing her path to isolation and ignominy. She was goth 10 years before anyone even knew what, this was the point where she was purposely making herself, look ugly, because Nico, when you look at the Velvet Underground time and the Warhol stuff, she was beautiful, and she was sick of it, and so around the time of Marble Index and then this was when she really she had no interest in being beautiful, but she sure had an interest in sounding beautiful, to me anyway. And working with John Cale, this is uncomfortable listening. That's going to take you to the razor's edge, but it's fragile and exquisite. The Cozy Fanny Tucci and Chris Carter and Peter Christopherson, did the cover of this album. They covered the whole thing with Mark Armand and Anani and what have you. And, it's just, for me, this is, I think, really the first totally Gothic album. It's just incredible. And it's so stripped back and brutal, and yet absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favourite albums in any genre. And yeah, well, if you've watched any of the other videos, you know that I'm obsessed with Nico. Really obsessed with Nico. There you go.
Excellent. I listened to that Nico album you recommended, almost threw myself out the window. But, Peter, what have you got at number 4?
Pardon me. Dreamtime by the Cult. Still listen to this album now and again. I love tracks like Horse Nation, 83rd Dream, and also things like Butterflies and Rider in the Snow. Just love those songs. And I remember back in the day, when it was released, there was an accompanying live album, and it had a really stellar version of Moya by Southern Death.
Moya, great song.
Just fantastic. I remember some really good shows they did in Newcastle back 84, maybe 85, something like that, before they went kind of all like lost it, and when they did the Love album, which
84
really,
I think Love was
really struggled with. But that first one, I think it just had everything. It had one of the best drummers from post-punk as well, with oh God, what do you call him? Nigel. Is it Nigel? The drummer. Oh God, I'm having an old age spasm in my head again. Brilliant drummer. He also played for Sex Gang, and he did some stuff with maybe early Theatre of Hate as well. Oh God, I can't remember his name now. But awesome drummer on that album. Awesome singing, brilliant guitar work, and like esoteric, weird sounds back on the album as well. Like, but just storming from start to finish.
Yeah, great band. Great choice. Love that.
It's a joint fourth, joint third as well, like with another sort of related band.
Okie dokie then. Rob, what have you got at number 4?
Yeah, sorry, just to say, like Godzu and Moya, like the one at the Dreamtime. It was Nigel Preston, outstanding drummer, an influence of mine. Band I was in actually supported Cult on that tour. It was in 1984. Nigel Preston, yeah, he was drummed with the Gun Club as well. Really good drummer. Sad he no longer with us.
Sorry, what band was that, Rob?
The Gun Club. He was in the Gun Club as well.
No. What band were you in when you supported the Cult?
Twisted Nerve.
Oh, okay.
And they've been going since 1978 they started.
Okay.
Yep. What have you got now then, Rob? What's your choice?
Fields of Nephilim, Dawn Razor. There's an import one there as well. It was the last band I've seen live just a few months ago. One of the most mysterious Gothic rock bands out there. A lot of it was the singer Carl McCoy had a dream or an experience which you won't discuss about. It's basically a horror cabaret western. Cover yourself in flour and lots of dry ice, as you did. And I seen him in Edinburgh at one of these venues. He got caught walking into the venue, big massive bags, clear bags full of flour. So the place got raided, as you could imagine. So yeah, they used to do that a lot, but absolutely outstanding. Again, it's song called Preacher Man. The intro was always a harmonica man, which I think was it Once Upon a Time in the West, a bit mouth organ.
Yeah.
Me standout song, the sequel, the lyrics, when I'm dead, would you cry for? While I'm dead, will you cry more? Brilliant song. Preacher Man, brilliant song. Dust, really, really good. Obviously, Nephilim, Fields of the Nephilim, Fallen Angels, very, very mysterious band. You had the Wright brothers as well, who left, started a band called NFD in the Eden House. Then the Nephilim split, and then they were called the Nephilim. And Carl McCoy said they're not a goth band anymore, they're a biker band. Then nobody went to see them, and since then he's changed his attitude. But seen him at the Academy in Glasgow a few months ago. It was packed, sold out. It was brilliant. Balmain Angel supporting, and the brilliant Clay Township. Brilliant, brilliant, stunning album. Very haunting.
Yeah, good stuff. Good choice. Right, Peter Call number three, big three now.
Number 3, I have got Nail by Scraping Fetus Off the Wheel. Probably the most influential album of my childhood. Created by the genius that is J.G. Thirlwell, also known as Clint Ruin, Frank Want, Carl Satan, Jim Fetus, various monikers that he goes under. He created this entire album on his own, played every instrument, wrote the whole thing, and Warren Livesey did the production, helped him sort of land the thing. And despite it being a one-man band, it's a huge, expansive album that really, it covers everything from industrial, electronica, metal bashing, mutant disco, and then it has 2 classical pieces, the theme from Pigdom Come and the overture from Pigdom Come. One reviewer commented that the sheer range of this music is hard to believe. Lyrically, it's pretty strange, incredibly witty. It draws on many references, Hamlet, Holocaust, Timothy Leary, Manson murders, all of this stuff, and kind of ends in Jack and the Beanstalk. It's an incredibly strange album, and it encompasses, it's just huge, and it's built by one man, and it changed the way I listen to things. Okay, there's more to music than 4 blokes and 2 guitars, a singer and a drummer. Which kind of where I was at the time, I guess, maybe. And also, he did all the artwork, and just incredible, mind-blowing talent. And he's gone on to do huge amount of soundtracks and stuff. And he's just very, very, very dear to my heart. Nail by Scraping Fetus Off the Wheel.
It just rolls off the tongue. Peter, what have you got number 3?
It's not an album as such. It's like a compilation, a posthumous compilation, but attributed to Southern Death Cult, 1983. Like what might have been. I think there's still, I still favour them over the Cult, and I really loved the Cult at that time. But I think that just Moyer alone just shits on so much. Just a beautiful, powerful song with just brilliant guitar, very simple guitar, and amazing drumming, and such a sort of such a powerful impact visually as well. They all look really, really stunning, and just such a brilliant stuff. I still go and listen to it fairly often. I love songs like Old Glory and Apache, just brilliant. False Faces as well. That bass player was something special, very, very different from what else was around that time. So yeah, what might have been? I mean, it's a weird one because it's got a 3-track single on it, all 3 tracks from the single, like a mixture of live performances, some of them very ropey, and then a live BBC session. like, what might have been, but they imploded, unfortunately. And Billy Duffy tells a good story about when that happened because they were touring with Theatre of Eight. And it's quite funny how that band was imploding and Billy Duffy had just found out being sacked from the Theatre of Eight. So that's how him and Ian got together and decided to do the Cult.
Yeah,
There
great
you go.
stuff. Right, interesting. Good stuff, that. Good stuff. Rob, what have you got number three?
You don't find that you never see Gordon Ramsay and Billy Duffy in the same room together because there is a bit. For me, it's Six Gang Children and Song and Legend album again. Seen them this year. What can I say? He was born an idealist and he'll die an idealist. Absolutely, like the Gothic Goblin, Gothic horror, cabaret, a transcend. I don't know, just it's everything, everything. I mean, watching him, I shed a tear because everything he was delivering, his snarl, his the whole presence, the power, like Sebastian, the song Killer K. It was just it hit me, and it was to me. If I was a baby, I would want that on my mobile above my cot because there's something very childish and it was some sort of like very nursery rhyme-ish side in it, the snarl sort of side as well, and obviously the band name that was Culture Club's original name that they didn't use. And some of these work he's done with obviously very varied artists, but Mark Hallman being one, and Dario Argento doing a lot of music for films. But this is an absolute masterpiece. I didn't know what Sex Gang to pick, but Sebastian, you hear the fiddles, the breakdown, it just drops, it just changes complete direction. And Rob Stroud's drumming, very, very, in the bass, very, very, I said that to you, said like Duck Wears White Socks could have easily been on this list as a benchmark, especially the drumming.
Yeah.
But this is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, and again, it flows through my veins. It was a difficult choice, but this sort of just nailed it at this time for me. Outstanding band, still on the go, and Andy, as we speak, is writing about.
Interesting, right? Good choices there. We're down to the big two then. Peter.
Yep, number two, Torment and Toreros by Mark and the Mambas. It won't surprise you, I
Yeah,
know.
no, love it.
Um, yeah, a sprawling, chaotic double album. That's soundtrack to Nervous Breakdown, really. And Mark dragged in a huge cast of talent for this, including the aforementioned J.G. Thirlwell, Matt Johnson, Peter Sleazy Christopherson, Severin, and Robert Smith were on this. It's just massive, and again, it covers so many genres. It is part experimental, parts of it are world music, bits of it are Spanish traditional. It's high camp, it's suicidal. It just absolutely beautiful. It even goes into, oh God, Carmen. Bits of Carmen come into this, and Rogers and Hammerstein beat out that rhythm on the drum like bizarre, and you know when you're 15 and you're listening to this, it changes you. I remember there's a track called First Time on it, which is about the first time, and I've got to hit you with a lyric. I'm sorry, but it's a demon kills an angel as you came over the bed. So this is the big deal, the ultimate feeling they claim in those books you read. The feeling of skin against skin as you slide inside and you shut your eyes in a wild relief as you watch innocence die. Thank you. That was all I needed as a burgeoning queen, at 14, 15, yeah. Hello. Thank you very much. Totally, yeah, absolutely mad goth. I know there's going to be some people that are like, that is not a goth album. Oh, yeah, it is.
Right, good stuff. Yeah, excellent. I thought you might want one of the soft cell albums, but brilliant. Yeah, Peter Cushing, what have you got on at number two?
If I Die, I Die, Virgin Prunes, 1982. I agree with everything that's been said by the other two chaps about it. Just a massively disorienting, unusual band, completely barking mad. Unfortunately, never got to see like that lineup. I saw the lineup afterwards after Googie had left and David had left. They were still good, but strong. But Mary Donnellan had moved from the drum to guitar. Pod, one of the original drummers, was back on drums, and Strongman was still Strongman. They were still good, and Gavin Fridays just has such a good voice. And when I saw them, I can't remember the year, but it was like a big old day at the Hammersmith Palais, and it was something that Psychic TV had organised. And I got the feeling they
That
didn't get
Genesis
on.
P. Orridge.
Yeah, I got the feeling they didn't get on because when Gavin came on, he was giving the V's to everything Psychic TV. Like he wasn't happy at all, and he's a pretty intense character. But I mean, I listened to other stuff by them as well, and I love the version of Walls of Jericho from Heresy, the live version recorded in France. It's just stunning. Come to Daddy as well. I mean, it's a shame that I didn't get onto that album. That's probably one of the most unnerving sort of pieces of music. That the grind of that bass in that album is very, very strange. Going back to If I Die, I Die, it was produced by one of the fellas from The Wire, which is very interesting. And I just would like dip back into time and look at some reviews. And one review I think captures like the essence of it, and it states it's a wonderfully confounding and sometimes campy and often disturbing exercise in unfettered creativity. And I think that's what it is, because it's a roll up of many, many different things. There's a lot of like folk in there as well, like married with some very, very unusual pitches and some very unusual sounds. And the guitarist, is Dick, is it? Was he is the brother of the Edge from U2.
Oh, is that right?
So I think he's actually more talented. I can't stand U2, like moralizing.
No,
But anyway, like, they're still a great band, and like one of the things that's made me happiest in my life being a dad is like my youngest has actually discovered music like this without any prompting from me. Like because my wife would not really would not make me feel comfortable listening to my music in the house because she didn't like that kind of stuff. So I'd often play it in the car on the way to work. So I don't know how my youngest came across Gavin and Googie, and she showed me some footage in Italy or somewhere like that. And my God, if you'd seen them without knowing what they were about, you'd be like, what the hell is this? You've got some bloke wafting on stage, and he literally looks like a ghost. There's this amazing bit of footage, or maybe Belgium or Italy. I'm not sure. Just barking mad, and you've got that weird pop song, baby, like the weirdest pop song of all time, "Baby Turns Blue." It's just it just has such a jolly like groove, but it's such a disturbing sort of subject matter. Anyways, I still listen to that regularly. I love Caucasian Walk and Theme for Thought, things like that. Just some beautiful music as well. Sweet Home of the White Clouds.
Good
Gavin
stuff.
has such a good voice.
All right, good choice. Interesting that features with all three of you. Yeah, my youngest daughter's rare Spotify age turned up at 63, which made us laugh. I felt that I've done a good job there.
Yeah.
Rob, what have you got at number two?
From the home of Goth from Leeds, got the March Violets,
Oh,
Natural
yes.
History, still got the $1 zillion bill that came with it. Simon
Get a loaf of
Dembélé,
bread with it these days. Go on.
the vocalist, he's no longer with the band due to ill health, but he was in a band before called the Batfish Boys. Are really good fun. They used Dr. Avalanche, the same drum machine as the Sisters used. Every song in this, it's beautiful. Religious as Hell, Children on Stun, there's a band called that. Grooving in Green, there's a band called that. Pro Baby, brilliant song. Strange Head. Again, it's just the bass, the drum machine at the back of it. But again, it's that thing that's inside. It's the goth to me. It's a backdrop to what you are, is the vibrations that you have around you, and it's in you. And this is a play, a pantomime, a stage. It brings out what you know is in you. This brings it out, and it makes you feel safe. It's a safe place to be. Loved them that much. The tattoo, the back of my hand there, absolutely brilliant. Again, they still play some of the songs at the clubs. Snake Dance, Walk into the Sun as well. If anyone's ever watched the thing that was released, the exclusive club in Batley 1984 on Facebook. I've sent you that, Sid. It was filmed a club
Yes,
down
you did.
there. They played on it a couple of times on the dance floor, but March Violets, again, it was two bands that done it for me, and it was like I didn't feel alone. I felt safe, and it was a backdrop to me. Very powerful.
Great stuff. Good, 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 good. Right, we're down to the big one then. So, Peter Karloff, what have you got at number one?
Number one, yep. Well, like Rob was saying, this is something very personal to me as well. This really is enmeshed in who I am, and it's Horse Rotivator by Coil, and I knew them when I was younger, and I knew this album, but over the years it has grown more and more, and it keeps growing for me. This album, it becomes more and more important to me, because it is dense. It is extremely experimental, and it's for younger ears. For my younger ears, it was too kind of complicated. There were things that drew me in, but yeah, the fact that they were linked with some of the people that I loved, it's kept my interest. And then over the years, it's just grown and grown and grown. So it's this is the second album from Coil, who were John Balance and Peter Sleazy Christopherson from Throbbing Gristle and Psychic TV, that gang. And the first sort of queer couple, really, in that we sort of came across, and whilst they weren't directly political, their existence was politicized. They were, the first album's called Scatology for good reason. They were quite obscene, but you had to know what they were talking about. Their version of Tainted Love, that was a fundraiser for AIDS, Terence Higgins Trust, and that, and yeah, the title of the album came from a dream that John Balance had about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, slit the throats of their horses and assemble their jawbones into a device large enough to plough up the waiting world. Wow. Nice one, mate. And yeah, there are tracks on it like Slur and Ostia that are instant kind of tracks. But there's a lot, and the cover of Leonard Cohen's "Who by Fire," that was easy sort of get into. And then you hear something like Penetralio, which is, we know this album was a massive influence on Trent Reznor. He has waxed lyrical about this album, and it really is. It is a blueprint for Nine Inch Nails. And then you got like the real filth of the Anal Staircase, which is just hilarious. Love it, and it just, all of their work just gets more important to me, and do you know what, actually, it's quite a fucking sexy album, if you're that way inclined, and I am. And also creepy as well, they did the theme to Hellraiser around this time that didn't get used because it was too creepy for Hellraiser. Go figure.
Wow.
So yeah, and just Coil, wow. Love them so much. So much. Impressive. And they wrote the only acceptable Christmas song. Or rather, it's a traditional thing that they adapted that I've completely forgotten the title of. I'll come back to you. There you go. Horse Renovator by Coil, #1.
You go and check them out again. I remember listening to Coil because I remember back getting one of the CDs from one of from the library years ago. So I have to, yeah, check them out again. Interesting. Peter, what have you got at #1?
Song and Legend by Sex Gang Children. Just love that album so much. That amazing driving bass, amazing drumming, very interesting kind of Siouxsie guitar at times. But as Rob said about Andy, like we found the pitch and tone of his voice and the was a perfect match for the acid of the lyrics. And it's very that album is very sort of kind of like symphonic. It's not a straightforward sort of like tempo. It has lots of stops and starts. Very very dramatic. I remember Sebastian as well being a huge like dance floor filler at the time. But my two favorite tracks are Killer K and Kill Machine. Are just the lyrics are just you know when you have they have perfect resonance with the music. There's just so much bile in it. It's just fantastic. An interesting fact, that album was produced by Tony James of Generation X and Siouxsie Sputnik. It's often described as being like the forerunner of dark cabaret or whatever that is. Or it was also sort of heralded for its unequal baroque fury, which I think is a really good sort of encapsulation of that album. And I never saw them at the time. I loved that album. I loved some of the follow up stuff like Marita Mayer, things like that. Some of the next album was very, very good, but it was poorly recorded. But I got to see them a couple of years ago. They played a pub, Sid, up our way in Gateshead, the Blackpool, and like 2 years running, with about maybe 60 people there, and they were absolutely bloody brilliant. You know, drumming, and they had a different bass player and a different guitarist now. Like they did get the original guitarist back in for a while, but I think they had problems, and I think the original bass players in the States now, and they're totally sort of disconnected and do not have like positive relations with Andy anymore. But like such a good album. I love that. I listen to it regularly, and like I bought. There was a CD re-release of it a few years back, and it had some acoustic versions of 2 or 3 songs, like maybe like Song and Legend or something like that. Sebastian as well, and they're absolutely beautiful, just like stunning bits of music. Yeah,
Interesting.
I listen to that fairly often. I just love it. It's just such a sweeping, powerful album.
All right, she'll check it out again. Good, good, good. Rob, what have you got at #1?
Bauhaus, Sky's Gone Out, 1982. This is the one that came with the free vinyl called Press Eject and Give Me the Tape. This was the song that gave me Sanctuary from Things. You got Third Uncle, good song, Brian, you know. Swing the Heartache, absolutely stunning. I'm just looking at the words here. Three Shadows, absolutely. Just start singing it. It's like spoken word, and it's just like sort of like horror cabaret again, sort of piano parts. It just sounds cold Victorian cobbles, lanterns. The whole atmosphere. It would have been, you know, Hammer horror sort of background music for me. Then Three Shadows, Part 3 as well. I mean, one of the lines is brilliant. You swim in idle waters and drink other fish's piss. But again, it's just brilliant. Are you thirsty now? And it's wailing. It's got this angst. And if you've seen them, the Glasgow QM in '83 in this tour, unbelievable. Yeah, and everything is just black and white. Less is more. Again, theatrical. Just unbelievable. You've got the song "All We Ever Wanted Is Everything." Brilliant, brilliant song. It's got one verse and that's it, but it sums up a lot of life. Then you've got Exquisite Corpse. It just Life is but a dream. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And it sort of get Daniel Ash's guitar and going in backwards. And life is but a dream. Again, it's just this to me, it's comforting and I find it peaceful. But from the casual observer, I think that is just really, really sinister. There's no place for that on this earth, but unbelievable. And at the end, this little piano part just fades away. It just the sky's gone out. It cuts. And again, the other one, the free album you got with it, at the very, very end of it, you hear somebody going to the PA or someone saying, "Just press eject and pass me the tape." And that cuts out, but it's a live album from this tour. Absolutely brilliant. But we used to go to nights out, and when karaoke started, we would have a little giggle because they would say, "Can you put some songs you want to sing?" So we would come out with like really silly things like Lager Pigeonick. Just wanted to see if the guy, the host,
Great
would say it
song.
out loud. Yeah, so it was just that was fun. But that Sky's Gone Out was my introduction of safety. Beautiful, perfect.
Good choice to finish with there, folks. We've got a real eclectic mix there. Yeah, some artists I would expect, some unusual ones, some I've never heard of. Normally suggested from Peter, and Rob's come up with a couple that I've never heard of, so I'm looking forward to hearing them.
Mhm.
So yeah, go and check out some of those albums, folks. Send in your lists with regards to what you would have as your top 10 as well. Feel free to disagree with us. Obviously, be polite. If you're not, I'll just remove you from the comments. Remember, sign up for the show, folks. Subscribe, all the usual stuff as well. Until the next time, from my said self, even Sid Lugosi, Peter Karloff, Peter Cushing, and Rob Cheney. Take care, folks. Look after yourself. Bye bye.